Hey everybody, how's it going out there, gamers and tabletop fans and enthusiasts? So I'm here and I want to talk a little bit about how to game during this quarantine shelter-in-place situation. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is E. Ambriz de Colosio. That's right. I also perform as Mexiking. I do stand-up comedy, and I also am an actor. But one of my favorite things to do is play games, board games in particular, tabletop especially. So I, just like everyone else, when quarantine or SIP happened, shelter in place, I was wondering, like, how are we gonna get our gaming fix? Obviously the best thing about board gaming is the social aspect, getting to commune with each other and play and have each other's connection. That's one of my social outlets amongst my busy life, as well as I'm sure many of yours. But being creatures of innovation, us humans, we found ways, and I know many of my friends did. But before I get into that, let me introduce you to my tiki friend right here. I know you're wondering. This is my tiki friend right there. We don't have a name for him yet, so maybe you can help us out with a name for our tiki guy too. But he's here to help us out. So, like I said, how do you game shelter in place? Well, luckily we're in a world of technology, and we found a way to use Zoom. It's a video conferencing app for those of you who don't know what Zoom is. We found a way to use Zoom to our favor. I also know that there's Tabletop Simulator, and that's an online type of way, but that for me, that feels a little like video gamey. There are certain games that I think it worked well with, but some games is just too fidgety, right? Like having to click so many things and drag the mouse, and I don't know. I personally like the tactile nature of board game. I like touching the physical pieces and all that. So that's why, tabletop's fun and it's easy because you just kind of turn it on and you're able to play. When we do Tabletop Simulator, though, we still use the Zoom app because I personally like seeing the face to face. I like seeing the faces of my friends and being able to talk to them and talk smack and all that. But at the same time, we also found ways. Also, with Tabletop Simulator, you have to pay for it too. So that might be something that holds you back. And while I'm talking about Zoom, let's talk about Zoom. Zoom is a video conferencing app as well as Skype. We haven't used Skype per se, but with Zoom, it is free as long as there's only 2 points of connection, meaning there's one group on one side using it and the other group on the other side using it. So if you got 2 points of connection, Zoom is free. The minute you got a third point of connection, Zoom is free up to 40 minutes, and then from there you have to pay. We did try logging out and signing back in every 40 minutes. That worked, but having to take a 10-minute break in between every 40 minutes kind of breaks up the flow. I don't suggest it unless you're probably only going to do Zoom one time. So that being said, that has been our preferred way of doing things. Now let me go ahead and move on to one of the games that we used. So one of the games that we found works really well is Dice Forge. Yep, Dice Forge. So if you don't have Dice Forge, you might want to look it up, look the game up, and find out what the game's about. But it's basically forging dice. For those of you who don't know the game, you've got these little dice here, and you've got these little pieces, and you pop them open, and you switch out pieces. And of course, there's more to it than that, but you're basically making your dice and you're making them work for you. I'm not gonna get big into the game. You guys can look it up. There's plenty of reviews, but this one worked really, really well via Zoom and teleconferencing. I will say that one of the problems with Dice Forge is that everyone has to have the game. So you can't play it with just one person having the game. Everyone that's on the call with you will have to have a copy of the game, but it does work well using the game. Now, one thing what we do is, in order to make it work, is everyone has to set their board up exactly the same. So of course, everybody sets the board up, and then basically everybody just keeps track. You move the pawns for each other to track where everybody's at. You go ahead and take the cards out, and then what I do is, with these pieces, when someone buys a piece, I just take it out and flip it upside down like this, and just leave it there, and that just shows that it's gone. It's no longer available to my group, wherever my group is. So that's Dice Forge. I think it works really, really well. I think the only problem is that you do have to have everyone in the group with the game. So that would be the limitation for Dice Forge. But it's quick, it's fun. You can play multiple rounds of it, and it works really good. There's no problems. There's no hidden information that people need to have or anything like that. with any game, another caveat with any game, that you do have to have honesty, right? It's an honor system, you know, of how, what did you roll, because you can't really always look around and see what people rolled. There's an honor system, especially for those of you know the game, the mirror and the ×3. You gotta just ask around who rolled what. Use the warthog. People have to be honest and tell you that they used the warthog rolled as well. So yeah, but any game in general, you have to have honor system in some ways. But of course, especially with video conferencing, there's a lot of honor system, because you can see, sometimes you can't even see the board if it's this angle here. If the board was below me, you wouldn't be able to see it. So, but you know, I think I read one time in rules, like, this game will require some sort of honesty, and if you have friends that you can't trust, maybe you shouldn't be playing with them. So that's the way to look at Dice Forge per se. And in the future videos I make, that's pretty much the caveat, honor system. So yeah, Dice Forge works really well. It's simple, set up the board the same way as everybody else, keep track for everybody, and it's only a 4-player game, so there's not a lot to keep track of, so it's really good. Quick review about Dice Forge. I think it's a great game. It's unique, it's fun, it's it's very tactile. Like I said, you're moving, you're switching the dice, and there's strategy to it, and no game really plays the same. I mean, I've tried to use the same strategy that killed one time and it didn't kill another time. So it's really cool. There's a great expansion to it. I like the expansion. It just adds more to it, adds more ways to forge a dice and more cards and stuff like that. So that's a mini review of the game. I suggest it if you can get it, especially sometimes you'll see it on sale. So that's a good thing to get to. But definitely works well with quarantine. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna make a few of these videos, upload them here and there, and you know, I'll tell you what our experience has been with the game. All right, thanks again. My name is Ian Briz de Colosio. Feel free to follow the Mexi King page, it's out there as well, and I'll come back at you and keep trying to update you on what games work while we're in shelter in place and quarantine.